Americans have grown disgusted with politicians treating governing as a game. But Jason Oda has channeled that disgust into a game of his own. In 2004, he married politics and video games with his innovative Bush Games, in which 1980s television characters waged war against monstrous versions of officials in the Bush administration. Ian Bogost, author of Persuasive Games, The Expressive Power of Video Games, argues that these advert games hold enormous persuasive power. So it should come as no surprise that when Oda's most recent game, Tea Party Zombies Must Die, hit the internet on September 5th, 2011, it was met with a firestorm of controversy. In this game, a reskinning of the popular Resident Evil series, players are asked to fight against conservative archetypes and major personalities, such as Sarah Palin, depicted in the game as a brain-eating banshee. Within the first 2 weeks of the game's initial release, Oda reported in a September 22, 2011 email that the site registered over 620,000 unique game players. It's because of the popularity of political propaganda in video games that Jonas Smith and Sin Just, in their monograph, Playful Persuasion, The Rhetorical Potential of Advert Games, published in the January 2009 Nordicom Review, provides the ideal framework through which to analyze Tea Party Zombies Must Die. In their words, the use of video games for advertising purposes is becoming increasingly common, with video games even being used to swing votes. The question we must ask, however, is, can the use of violent propaganda in video games be an effective means of influencing voters? In order to answer that question, I'll briefly outline Smith and Just's theory, use it to analyze Tea Party Zombies Must Die, before finally answering the question from both a practical and rhetorical perspective. Initially, Smith and Just contend that the rhetorical potential of advert games lies within their procedural form. Game design requires a player accept a game's goals as worth striving for, and therefore must act in accordance with a particular agenda, which may range from the fully abstract, connect the dots, to the fully concrete, kill all terrorists. They go on to argue that the analytical model which best describes the persuasive potential and strategies of advert games is centered around 3 specific conceptual tools: autonomy, integration, and goal. Each of these can be better understood within the context of analyzing Tea Party Zombies Must Die. The first concept, autonomy, deals with the degree to which the argumentative potential is realized in and through the game. Smith and Just ask, are the claim and the substantiation of itself contained in the game? In the case of Tea Party Zombies Must Die, the claim being presented to players is the Tea Party philosophies are extreme and their followers irrational. The substantiation is offered internally through both the setting and the descriptions of the characters to be killed. Posters found throughout the trailer park and the abandoned Fox News studio provide internal substantiation for the extreme philosophies of the Tea Party followers. For example, in this set of images, we see Obamacare labeled as fascist, replete with swastika. And in reference to global warming, we see that science equals lies, and that we should listen to billionaires. Even someone living under a rock would be able to understand the philosophies ascribed to the Tea Party without ever leaving the game. The substantiation is further offered through the descriptions of the characters to be killed. Generic old pissed off white guy zombie, stupid pissed off white trash redneck birther zombie, and factory-made blonde Fox News Barbie who's never had a problem in her life zombie. Together, the posters and the character descriptions provide internal substantiation for the extreme philosophies and the irrationality of Tea Party followers, contributing to what Smith and Just refer to as a highly autonomous game. Integration, the second conceptual tool, is a measure of how much the gameplay allows the player to experience an argument. And Tea Party Zombies does exactly that. The specifics of the proposition are made clear in abundant ways. First, the game contrasts true information with popular Tea Party misconceptions. For example, prior to entering the trailer park and meeting the redneck birther zombie, we're told that 51% of Republicans believe that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. Immediately after being given that information, we're confronted with this sign. Go back to Kenya. Another way the specifics of the proposition are made clear is that many of the Tea Party zombies to be killed are actual Tea Party icons. Sean Hannity, Mike Huckabee, Newt Gingrich, and, of course, Papa Bear Bill O'Reilly. Also, in gamer lingo, the bosses of each level are actual Tea Party heroes. Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann in the trailer park. And in the abandoned Fox News studio, there's a Glenn Beck back from the dead zombie who refuses to die, again, but literally cries like a baby whenever he's shot. The final analytical category, goal, deals with the internal integration between the game goal and the learning goal. A perfect overlap is seen in educational games, where a player is only allowed to pass from one level to the next by solving a set of tasks. In such cases, playing the game successfully is the same as realizing the point of the game. However, this is where Tea Party Zombies strays. Players are presented with a very clear proposition, but not required to act on that proposition in order to advance. They simply keep shooting, or wielding an axe whenever they run out of ammo, until they either vanquish the zombie onslaught, or are teabagged. The game's playful announcement that the player has been defeated, which is accompanied by the postscript. You didn't have health insurance, so you died. And PPS, there's no such thing as God, so you died for eternity. For players who do survive the zombie apocalypse, making it to the end of the game, they've learned that Tea Party philosophies are extreme and their followers irrational. Unfortunately, they've also learned that fighting on the side of liberalism is the epitome of immaturity, as they see the Democratic donkeys celebrating their victory by literally firing feces on the Tea Party icons, standing in front of the American flag. This element, along with the obvious personal attack, prompted Mike Huckabee to declare the game indecent and in bad taste on his September 7th, 2011 Fox News radio show. However, the question is, can the use of violent propaganda in video games be an effective means of influencing voters? While the game experienced unprecedented popularity, its persuasiveness was dubious at best. When asked about his goal, Oda replied, "I didn't think I would persuade a lot of Tea Partiers, but I'd hoped that by getting the truth out there, people would start to question the talking heads on TV and radio." Unfortunately, even this modest goal doesn't seem to have been met. Conservative commentators blasted the game as tasteless and hypocritical. But even the uber-liberal icon Keith Olbermann argued on a September 8th, 2011 show Countdown, "Doesn't matter how you feel about these people. There's no place for this," and even called for a boycott of Oda's company, Starving Eyes Advergaming. The explanation for this apparent failure can be seen within a closer examination of goal integration and the rhetorical insensitivity displayed by Oda's part. Smith and Just argue that successful procedural rhetoric positions a player to be an active participant in the construction of a message, which is built in through the course of the game, rather than as the passive recipient of a message that has been constructed and substantiated by the sender of the argument. While Tea Party Zombies presents a very clear claim, players are not asked to act on that claim in order to advance. Thus, they remain the passive recipients, defying the very purpose of procedural rhetoric. Additionally, given the high-profile attack on Gabrielle Giffords, a game that attacks real-life politicians and figureheads displays a remarkable lack of rhetorical sensitivity on Oda's part. Perhaps the Sacramento Bee said it best on September 14th, 2011. If describing Gabby Giffords' congressional district as targeted is an open call for murder, you'd think that a game that encourages its players to bash out the brains of these same politicians and figureheads would be denounced as something approaching genocide. And despite the game's desire to be humorous, it was denounced. Bogost, in his groundbreaking treatise Persuasive Games, argued that the persuasive potential of advergames lies within their procedural form. However, by outlining Smith and Just's theory and using it to analyze Tea Party Zombies Must Die, we can see the rhetorical explanation for why the game failed. While Americans have grown disgusted with politicians treating governing as a game, it would appear we haven't grown so cynical that we're not unwilling to accept this level of violence directed at these same politicians and figureheads. though the allure of killing zombies never does grow old.